I believe there is a sequence and a code to unlocking anything you want in your life. What is up, everybody, man? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Code Podcast. Got my man, Mr. Mike Collier, back in the house. What's going on,
sir?
Bro?
What's up, man? I'm excited to be back on. I think it's been a year.
It's been a while. Yeah. I'm super, I throw out a list of just names and Iva just goes to town, who she could get. So sometimes it's a surprise, just pops up in the calendar. And I said, got my man Mike back in the house. Loving it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what's been good?
Man, everything's been good. I just got off of a Disney cruise with the family. We did a 5-night cruise to Cozumel. Nice. And that was a lot of fun. We spent one night in Miami. It's one of the beautiful things about living in Central Florida, man. Miami's a 3-hour drive from Orlando. Port Canaveral's an hour drive from Orlando. Nice. So just getting a chance to, and that was Marvel Day at Sea. So if you like anything, if you love Marvel characters, I'm a Disney guy, but I'm also a Marvel guy. So, we got to take pictures with Iron Man and, Star-Lord and Groot. Now I'm like 6 foot, right? And I come up to Groot's shoulder, like the bottom half of his rotator cuff. Yeah.
I mean, the kids are getting that age where they, can really enjoy it.
They were all about it. And when we got to Cozumel, we went out to this really kind of like this, I guess it's a private beach. You have to pay to get out there, but they have all of these water inflatables, but it's way out there in the ocean. And my son's 4 years old, right? Bryson, he's all about it. He's like, I want to do that. I'm like, all right, well, we got to get out there first, right? So we put his life vest on and he's like, doggy paddling to get out there in the ocean, right? And I'm like right there with him, like kind of pulling him along. And we get to this obstacle course, man. And this thing is like, it's the real, it wasn't made for 4-year-olds, put it that way, And
Ninja Warrior stuff.
Ninja Warrior stuff. There was a couple of times I had to actually kind of pick them up and go, toss them onto the platform. Yeah. But my daughter, she loved it. She's 8, so she loved it. That's awesome. So we're having fun.
So cool. A lot of folks might not, know your backstory and the Disney DNA inside of you. I think it's always great to hear your perspective and that part of your career. And really, it's funny because I always joke when we talk, your name comes up or we're talking about the Disney DNA. I was like, yeah, he was only going to be there for 6 months.
Was it? I was only supposed to be there 6 months, right? Yeah. 6 months turned into a 12-year career. So, just real cliff notes on that, man. I just, I came down, I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, came down to Orlando on a college program with Disney, thinking that I was only going to be here for 6 months because it's a 6-month internship. And, the internship was really good and I got to meet some really cool people, but I started being groomed really early for management. And so my Disney managers were like, man, you should consider doing the management internship, which was another 6 months. I'm like, all right. And they were like, well, it's salary plus benefits. I was like, okay. And so, yeah. And so they put me at one of the deluxe resorts and I became a concierge manager and learned kind of how Disney works their resorts. And, it's funny, like you come in as a starving college kid, right? We're like scrounging like $3 or $5 together sometimes is tough. Like Taco Bell is the main source of food, right? Well, you come down here and you start working at a deluxe resort where, the rooms are up to like $1,000 a night. Yeah. Right. And so you're checking folks in and checking folks out. And when they check out, like their bill is like $7,800 for the week. And you got to kind of keep a poker face. Right. And that was when, and so one of the things I learned from that time is that I teach my agents now is stay out of people's pockets. Yeah. Don't get in people's pockets too much, right? Like we look at a house, we might look at $1 million house and go, gosh, you think about a $10,000 monthly payment on a home and you're like, oh my gosh, something like that. Well, for them, that might not be anything. Right. So don't get too overly, when over the last couple of years, when the market went crazy, people were like, I would never let my buyer pay $50,000 more. These are agents. I would never let my buyer pay $50,000 more than a house is worth. I'd never let them pay $75,000. I'm like, listen, as long as they understand, like if you're an advisor and you advise them on what's going on with the market and, hey, you're paying a little bit more than worth, but if this is where you want to be and this is the house for you, at some point, you're going to break even and it will increase even higher than that, right? As long as you're not looking to flip out of this house within the next 3 to 4 years, you'll be good. Just calm down. If this is what you want to do and you want to be aggressive to get it, let's help you to get it. That's my stance. But I'm not going to tell my buyer, no, I can't let you pay 50. What? Get out of there.
That's just, that's just those agents pushing their
agenda.
Belief, their belief, but also their insecurities and fears, and putting it on them. And it's like, what you're able to do is create that level of awareness to where they can just kind of step back and, like you said, assess the situation. What are their goals and how can I help them accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish? It's not my belief system. I'm not trying to, transfer that to you. Yes. That's what a lot of people do, right? And they really try to, push their agenda onto somebody else, but it's really deep rooted kind of in their fears and their beliefs, their insecurities, and then they want to push that.
You're absolutely right, John. It's the difference between being an agent and an advisor, right? And that's why we call ourselves advisors, right? So, so I learned how to be an advisor in that role, and then I became what's called a Walt Disney World Ambassador, a spokesperson for the company, and so as a global spokesperson, I was constantly speaking in public and at community events representing Disney. I would introduce, executive, the president of Walt Disney World and sit with the executive steering committee in different meetings and stuff. And so I got to see the company at a very high level and got a chance to see all of the different divisions within Disney and how it works from the corporate veil side of things, right? Yeah. And more so than just a fan of Disney. And it was really, really cool to see how many departments have to work together in order to make something happen. How in February, they begin planning for the events that are going to be happening during Christmas, right? Like
it's crazy.
Like how far in advance the budget needs to be set and all of this stuff, right? And so fast forward, I ended up working at Disney Vacation Club and selling Disney Vacation Club, Disney's timeshare on board the Disney cruise ships. And I did that for 6 years. So all in all, I was there for 12 years and became a top salesperson there and traveled the world. I've been as far west as Alaska and as far east as St. Petersburg, Russia, and like everywhere in between, man. So traveled the world, made a lot of great money, met a lot of great people, but also found a cool way that Disney does things. And it resonated with me so much so that I still reflect that in my business. So, my tagline now is that I bring the Disney guest service into the real estate transaction. And I know that anybody who understands what Disney stands for and the quality of service that they provide and the quality of not only just entertainment, but experience that they provide, they get it. They're like, that's what I want. Right.
What if you can distill it down to just like the core principles of it, like what is that foundation really built on?
Yeah, good question. For me, a lot of it is built on the communication. Right. And so just like I was talking about, having that advisory role, Disney's not going to make you do anything. They don't make you go to the parks, but they also don't apologize for it costing as much as it costs to get in there. Right. And so I'm not going to make you, I'm not going to guilt you into being my client, but I'm also going to help you understand the benefits of doing business with me. And I'm not going to apologize for the commission structure that I have. Right. And so, but there's a way to do it. So I have bracketed commission, right? There's a 6%, 7%, and 8% commission, right? And depending on what you need, that determines what you get, right? If from a level of communication from the very get-go, and this is something I'm actually building out now because in my mind, I know how I want it to. I have a vision of what I want it to look and feel like truly feel like to my clients. And so right now, I'm working with somebody to actually build out this workflow, the buyer workflows and the seller workflows, so that from the point that I get in contact with somebody, who touches them next? What do they receive? Is it a text message? Is it an email? So what happens when a call comes in? And then who receives that call? What happens next? Does an email go out? Does a text message go out? What does that say? What does it ask them to do? What is it offering them? And then even from the point of inception all the way to the closing table and beyond, what are they receiving? Who are they receiving it from? When are they receiving it? And how can I make that experience a duplicatable experience so that everybody, it's just like getting on at a Disney attraction, right? You go on the Jungle Cruise, guess what? The joke's going to be the same every single time. Right. The turn is going to be the same every single time. The monkeys are going to pop out. The hippos are going to pop out every single time at the exact same time. Now, as a guest, you can appreciate that because it brings that nostalgia. Like, I know what I'm getting. And that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why people will pay for a Disney. They're like, I know what I'm going to get with it. It might cost more. Disney Cruise Line costs a heck of a lot more than a Carnival cruise, but they know what they're going to get. They know what to expect. And they're like, I'm willing to pay for that. Right. And here's what's interesting though. That's from the guest perspective. Now flip the switch. What about that cast member that's working the Jungle Cruise and has to do that exact same thing over and over and over again, say the exact same jokes, the exact same way, and act like it was their first time saying it, and they're just excited for their 100th time as they were for the first time.
Right.
That's talent.
That is talent. That's
something you're paying for, right? And so it's a two-way street, right? There's two sides we have to look at it. And so in my business now, I look at it from the client perspective. What should they expect? What should they receive? And then how do I know how to help them to know what to expect?
Right.
And then how do I meet those expectations the same way every single time, right? Or even exceed those expectations every single time. And so that's what it comes down to, is kind of creating these duplicatable systems and processes that allow us to do that in our business.
Yeah. And it's that consistent experience, I think. And it's so important in our brand. So every interaction they have with us, and how do you create that level of experience throughout, not just, when they interact with you. And this is why it's so critical to who you align with, because if now you're getting into a lender conversation and, going in through the title experience, or if you have to deal with an attorney, or you've got the home inspector coming, like, it's so critical that you're proactively managing that whole experience. And understand that, to build lifetime value, you've got to be proactive with all of it, and who they interact with. Those cast of characters have to be on board with what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And that's where the vision, that's where the story comes in. And all the way from our marketing, through the interactions, from the closing table beyond, building that lifetime value, it's so critical that how you have to think about it that way. And there's really not much of a better example if you want to really pull, the whole Disney experience. I think you can maybe relate something like a Ritz-Carlton experience. There's some other of those examples, but one of the things that I, always reminded me, came back to when, we were doing as much of the diving deep and studying of Disney and everything that they were doing. To me, that really stood out was the attention to detail. Like, every little thing gets addressed. There's nothing that just does not get overlooked.
That's right.
Just like you said, Christmas planning starts in February, and it's just all of the little details, and like walking, right. I mean, just going through the experience yourself, and like little things like that most people don't notice, but the details absolutely matter. And that was one of the things that really stood out for me.
Yeah. And that's a great point, John. And another thing I'd say, like, for everybody watching this, listening to this, like, the next time you're at Disney, whether you're a Disney fan or not, right, just go to, like you mentioned, Ritz-Carlton, JW Marriott, like those, the very high level. Yes, it's going to cost more, but why does it cost more? Find out why it costs more. Look at the details from an entrepreneurial standpoint. and go, how can I implement something like this in my business? For instance, you talk about the details. These are the things that, like, Walt Disney himself was not just a visionary, but he was also very detail oriented. You know, even as he was coming up with some of the attractions and things around the parks, many of his Imagineers who were creating these things wanted to go a little bit of a cheaper route. They're like, well, we don't necessarily need, you know, like at the Haunted Mansion out at Disneyland, there's the stagecoach that's out there, right? And the stagecoach that's out in front, has leather seats and these leather straps. And so they were saying, well, we don't necessarily need leather because nobody's actually going to ride on it. You know, it doesn't need to be that. We can just make it look like leather and just put some, I guess, plastic, whatever. And he said, no, because those who care will notice.
Right.
And so he didn't cut corners just because nobody might notice. He's like, I'm going to notice. And people who truly do care about the details, they're going to notice. And I want them to be impressed as well. And so when he was creating Magic Kingdom, and the same is true as at Disneyland, when you're walking up to the park, you'll notice that the sidewalk actually changes colors. The sidewalk, as you're approaching the entrance of Magic Kingdom, is red. Why do you think that is? It's the red carpet.
Yeah. And
then when you go into the park, you're not just walking out into the park like, oh, here's the park. What do you do first? You actually go under the train, under the tunnel, and then you come out. What is that? That's the lights going down for the show to start. And inside of the tunnel, there are posters of all of the different Disney cartoons and Disney movies that have happened. What's that? That's the trailers. And then when you come out of the tunnel, sunlight comes back. It's the show starting, the opening, and now you hear the sounds, you hear the train, you smell the popcorn and the cookies, and the show has begun. Right? And it's just so cool, man.
It's so good. Yeah, it's I mean, for us, even in our brokerage, in our office, we took into consideration that, right? Walking in, the smells, the sounds, what do you see? Everything. Just those details matter so much in the overall experience. And, if you're okay with just being on the transaction treadmill, then you're not going to pay attention to those details. You're not going to think through that. But if you're really in this to build lifetime value, which kind of our belief system is that, then you have to pay attention to the details. You have to, structure and design the experience that you really want your clients to have. And even for your agents, right? As you build out the behind the scene, right? The cast members that, you take into consideration their experience as well, and building that out for them. For you transitioning, away from there, I mean, after 12 years, I mean, geez, it's a great run. What for you was like, hey, it's time for me to move on to something else?
Well, for me, it was that, as much traveling as I was doing. And then, like I said, I was making really good money. And, but because I was traveling so much, and my daughter at that point had turned 2 years old, my wife was starting to feel a little bit like a single mom every time I'm traveling and gone, and she's having to do all the stuff here. So there was that one thing for my wife, but the other thing was that for my daughter, she was starting to feel, well, she was only 2, but I was starting to feel like I was potentially missing out on things at home. Yeah. And so I had a really hard choice to make. I had to decide whether I was going to choose family and the family memories that I might miss, or choose the money, because it's such a great opportunity, right? Yeah. And the way that I don't want to dismiss it as a very easy decision, although for some it may say, oh yeah, family's easy, but when you're making good money, it's not always easy to walk away from it. Ultimately, for me, it came down to the fact that I can get the money back, but I can't get the family memories back. Right. If I miss the things that are happening at home, I don't get that. And I've also seen, and even in this real estate game, like I've seen, and it too, that there are plenty of top agents who are on their 3rd, 4th marriage, right? Whose kids grew up essentially without them. They built a great business, but if
everything else suffered,
a lot of other things suffered.
Yeah.
And so I just decided that for me, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
And so that was the reason why I decided to go.
Make the transition. One of the things that you've always been a big advocate for and support for have been those cast members. And I know, kind of what was going on during the pandemic and the things that you did there. And, like, what's going on there now? It just seems like they're still trying to figure things out a little bit. I know you're super connected with that community.
Yeah.
So kind of where's your energy and focus, giving back and supporting the cast members now?
Yeah, great question, John. Yeah, so during COVID, man, obviously there were layoffs everywhere, right? And there were some who were furloughed and then versus laid off and all that kind of stuff. But Walt Disney World took a major hit as far as the the entertainment industry, the hospitality industry, all of that is wrapped into one. So they don't do just one thing. It's all of it was obliterated. You couldn't cruise, you couldn't go to the parks, you couldn't stay in the hotel. So it was like, okay, this is a big deal. So obviously a lot of people were laid off, and many of those cast members began creating their own businesses. They had to kind of make what they did at Walt Disney World their new side hustle / this is my job, this is my company now. And so if they were a seamstress at Walt Disney World, they began like sewing people's clothes and creating clothes for people during COVID. If they were a baker, then they started baking cakes and cookies and selling those in the marketplace, right? And so what I did was just with the little platform that I did have at the time, because I already had a podcast and I had people tuning in, I would just bring them on and allow them to promote their business and really kind of talk about, the Disney side of things as well as what they're doing now and try to garner support for them. And we had it wasn't just me, there was a lot of people who began doing that around our community. And it's just, man, it was a beautiful thing to see. Fast forward now, many of them got the call from Disney, hey, we're back open, we're ready to rock, come on back. And they're like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like they've built such a successful business at this point, they're not going back. They're not going back. And they're building, they're growing. I mean, there's chefs. I've seen chefs who were simply a cook in the kitchen at Disney who are now like full on. They have a whole business going now, events and all kinds of stuff. And so I stay close to them and try to support their business as well. They like me now can draw on their Disney background and that Disney employment and bring that level. And that's what I do love about watching them grow, is that with each of them who have grown and become successful in what they are doing now, they brought that Disney guest service, they brought that quality of service with them and that high level of expectation with them. And you're starting to see how it's playing out even in their business outside of those walls, which is why I think it's so important. Like, many people go to get a job so they can get a paycheck and they can just, return every single day, every single week so they can get that paycheck. And that's cool if that's all you want to do. But what does it mean how different does life look when you start taking those transferable skills and start learning like, hey, I can take a little bit of this, I can take a little bit of that, I can learn a little bit of this. And what happens if I was to start using that for myself? Man,
yeah,
some powerful things that
and sometimes, you have to be kind of forced into that situation. And so, you get into, okay, how can I, lean into, my skill set, my capabilities, and where can I, solve a problem or provide value in the marketplace to be able to, to monetize these skills. But sometimes, most people, you hear all the time, hey, I should go do this, I should do this and this. But sometimes it's like, you got to be kicked out of the damn nest to be able to figure out, hey man, I got to swim. I got to figure this out.
All right.
I think, just kind of seeing that play out with you through that time, that process, and just kind of, sharing where they're at today. It felt like if that wouldn't have happened, they would have never been nudged out of the nest.
Well, what is the saying? Innovation comes from the greatest frustration, or greatest innovation comes from the greatest frustration, right? Yeah. Like, it's usually when our backs are against the wall. I mean, how many people got innovative during COVID when they could not work, right? They had to. Right. I look at my own business back in, 2020, that I was facing bankruptcy and my back was against the wall and bank accounts were negative and all that kind of stuff. I had to do it. I had to figure something out. And, lo and behold, the next year I was hitting Icon.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
So yeah, so it was like it's the fuel. Either way, it's going to be fuel. You can use it for as a rainy day and be down and sad for yourself and throw a pity party for yourself. And so, man, I'll never get out of this. And why me? Why is this happening? Or you can take that exact same energy, that exact same fuel, and go, why not me?
That's right.
Right. I'm actually glad that this is happening. This is a conversation I was just having with somebody yesterday. I said, I want you, to truly embrace where you are right now. Like, thank God for where you are right now, because there's going to be a day where you're no longer in this pit. Yeah. And you'll be grateful for the pit that you were able to come out of.
Right.
And that'll be part of your story.
That's right. 100%. And sometimes it's just that different perspective, but it's also that spark, right? That can kind of ignite that flame within all of us. So being able to be pushed that way. One of the things, I remember you sharing the story, walking through with the CEO at the time. And I think you asked him a question, what are the biggest frustration or biggest challenge? Yeah. And what he shared with you. And so I think I see that with a lot of agents, is that they don't embrace that technology, that tool, to really help them stay organized, stay on top, not let opportunities fall through the cracks. And share that story and kind of, the perspective, and then kind of how you looked at it and applied to your own business, just from that conversation.
Yeah. So it was the president of Walt Disney World at the time, Al Weiss. We're walking with him in my ambassador year, and we're walking down Main Street, and it was just a nice day. It was early, before, I believe it was before the parks were open. So we were the only ones out, and he was kind of pointing at some of the windows that are along Main Street and telling us, cool things about that, which as an ambassador, you learn a lot about that, but it's really cool having those conversations with the president of the company. And in my curious entrepreneurial mind, I'm like, in a company of this magnitude, like Walt Disney World, at the time, Walt Disney World was the largest, and I believe it still is, the largest single site employer in the world. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about Walt Disney World, which is the location in Florida, not Walt Disney Company. Walt Disney World at the time in 2006, when I was a Walt Disney World ambassador, had 65,000 cast members working at that location.
Crazy.
Right? And so I start thinking, and I'm like, what would you say is the biggest challenge, like among all of the things that's going on as you're building a business and continuing to grow, and you have to be a visionary as you sit in these executive steering committee meetings? Like, what's the thing that keeps you guys up at night? And he kind of smiled and he goes, it's our CRM. And I said, what's a CRM?
All the things you can say is like, what?
I didn't even know what a CRM was.
Like, what are you talking about?
Right? I'm an employee. I wasn't a business owner at this point. Like, I didn't know what a CRM is. And he began to explain. He's like, that's where, he says, you think about all of the business sectors that we have. So as you talk about, like, this is a big business. We have cruise, we have movies, we have cartoons, we have TV, we have whatever, right? You name all of the different lines of business. It's mind-boggling when you look at the lines of business. A lot of people don't even know that, like, Disney's in the gaming space, right? There's stuff like that, right? So you think about all of these leads, right? All these lead capture systems that they have, all of that information goes somewhere. When you buy a video game, or you sign up for something online, or Disney Plus or whatever else, that information goes somewhere.
Yeah. How
in the world do we manage it, right? Here we are, like, with, we're talking about the 30 leads that come in a day after we're
how are we going to manage these?
Right? We're drowning off of KV Core leads and Zillow leads, right? You think about, like, the amount of information and content and contact information that they are getting and capturing every day. And then how do you support and organize that information and make sure, again, that the communication plan is happening? What happens when that lead hits your CRM? What do they get? Who is it? Who's touching it? How often are they getting it? Right? And that has to be, God forbid you sign up for Disney Plus and your name just goes in somewhere and you never actually are able to turn on the service just because you as a lead got lost in their system. Like, that can't happen, right? That can't happen. You can't pay for something and just get lost and never get it, right? And so it's not to say that they're absolutely perfect, but they do it really well. And so anyway, that was his comment, is that it was the CRM, managing all of that information and making sure that they stay consistent with each in every single person that comes into their ecosphere.
Yeah. And then, how are you, retargeting, how are you remarketing to them? Where are you trying to move them, on the value journey? You come in at this low product and,
where do you take it?
I would think you would ultimately try to push them to an immersive experience, which would be one of the locations or the cruises or something like that, to where they can like actually immerse themselves into the experience.
Well,
here's continue to progress it.
And here's what gets fun too. So then there's elite level experiences too, right? So it was actually during my ambassador year that they became that Disney created something called Adventures by Disney. Now, some of you guys out there may have heard of this before, but Adventures by Disney is that it's like a completely different level, right? So what happens when you have that big family that's always going to Disney, and they've kind of been doing this for many years, and they're always kind of getting concierge level, and when they book the cruise, they book the concierge level, and it's cool, like they're enjoying it. But what if there was more for them? What if there was a truly unique VIP experience where you're actually in a different part of the world and you have concierge guides who learn everything about the region that you're in, and they take you on these tours, and it is truly what you mentioned, the immersive experience where your food and all this kind of stuff is taken care of, your room is all taken care of, your transfers from country to country are taken care of, and it's all backed by Disney. Like, these are Disney people, so you're always going to get that high level service, and then they build in, because it's Disney, they have relationships with government entities and big companies that other people can't necessarily pull off. So Disney's able to pull off some things that happen in these countries that are what they call magical moments that would never have happened had you not been affiliated with Disney.
With Disney, yeah.
No, there's no way it would have happened, right? So I think like in one of them, if you book the trip and you go to France, they take you to the Eiffel Tower and you get a chance to eat dinner at the Jules Verne, which I think it's like a 2-year reservation list, or like a 2-year list in order to be able to get in there, right? Yeah. But if you book this, Disney already has a certain amount of reservations. You go up and then you get to experience
there. You're there. Yeah, that's it. It is. I mean, it truly is. It is that like you said, that magical experience, and even doing small events, just educational small events, and I know you do those, and you still have to take in, okay, how can we make this a magical experience for everybody here?
Really.
And it carries over, just because you want them coming back, and you want them to be connected, immersed. You want them coming back. You want them bringing other people with them. So it really does carry over when you really step back and think. And for us, that was one of the things that Jay Abraham always challenged us with, is like, and you start to look at everything a little different, right? It's that what he calls funnel vision, not tunnel vision. And where we have exponential gains in our business is when we're able to experience and see other things in other industries, and how can we take that and apply it to what we do. Where you have just the incremental gains is if you just do what everybody else is doing in your industry. That's just the small little leaps and bounds. Can you have over a period of time double, triple? Yeah, of course. But where you can make the jumps fast and is like, okay, go immerse yourself in Disney, go stay at the Ritz, go to Ruth's Chris, go to these higher end experiences and see what they're doing, and just really pay attention to everything, all the details, the experience. And then how can you apply that into your business and exactly what you're doing? That's where you make the big strides, the big jumps in growth, is being able to apply that. And so
I like that.
Fascinating. Funnel
vision, not tunnel vision.
That's it.
How can you funnel something that you see in another area, another completely different industry, and funnel that into what you're doing now and make some great strides? I mean, it's a great differentiator, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at even look at the EXP model, right? With what Glenn was able to do, and, borrowed from the network marketing space, knowing that he didn't want to create all of this infrastructure. And he was like, okay, well, how can we get this company to grow without us spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to get the word out and brand? What if we went boots on the ground, word of mouth strategy. What does the compensation structure have to look like in order for that to work? And that's the network marketing space. And really, when you think about it, it is boots on the ground, word of mouth. You allow your people that want to sing the praises. You allow them to be creative to get the message and the word out. And then that just allows whatever organization to grow. So that's just like one example.
Well, that and the virtual platform of it, right? His time at yahoo.com, right? Allowed him to know that online space much better than a lot of other people, and then apply that and say, okay, well, we only have boots on the ground and we don't have these brick and mortar buildings. How do we utilize the technology that's even in place right now, and build something and grow something? And that's what he did.
Yeah. And even, tapping into like part of that with the avatar space. I remember it was, this book was written at the end of 19. The future is faster than you think. I think it was Peter Diamandis, and I know I got a copy of it here, but what they talked about, just everything that's coming, and it's moving faster than we all realize, but they hit a lot of the different industries and different spaces. And the only company they talked about in there, and this was at the end of 19 when this book came out. So it was written earlier in 19. And the only real estate company that they talked about was EXP. And they talked about the avatar process, and they ended up kind of going into the hologram and, really like what we see, like Marvel, right? They're all hologrammed in from all over, wherever in the galaxy that they're at.
Right.
But they're kind of talking about that scenario. And then, we know what happened with for Bella and EXPI and everything later in 20, and, all of the major corporations adopting that technology just to be able to work, right? Because we couldn't get together, but it was a way to get together. So it's just fascinating to see and look at all of the other things, but just having that awareness, and just where you go, you start to critique, and then you can say, okay, what's good, what's bad here? What's useful for me? What's useful for us? What's useful for our business? And how can we apply it to help us have a greater experience for, the clients that we're working with, the clients that we're serving?
Yeah. I have a I don't, not to be too nerdy into the multiverse and all that kind of stuff, but we have our metaverse, right? But then if you're a Marvel fan, like you've been watching, there's the multiverse, right? There's parallel universes where things are happening right now in real time, and it's just a completely different universe. But when you start getting to like the Ant-Man and the Wasp, they're in like all this kind of stuff, right? But I think it's really cool because we have the avatars that are in the metaverse, which is our virtual campus, right? So when we log in, we are that avatar, but we're also there. I think it would be really cool. I'm going to probably talk to Glenn about this, but I think it would be really cool. Like, okay, so when we shut off right now, like if we shut off the EXP world, then our avatar goes away.
Right.
But why? What if our avatar was still doing things like while we're still doing stuff? So we're here, but we're also there, and you get alerts and it's telling you like, oh, your avatar just beat John Kitchens in basketball, right? Like, or hey, you just took a class on you just took a class on crypto and real estate, right? Like, do you want notes or something? I don't know. I think that would be really cool. Like, anyway.
Yeah. Hey, here's the training schedule this week. I want you to attend these classes and take notes. Send me the
Or you can tell it what training you're actually interested in. What are the things that you want to learn? Your avatar actually goes to these classes, takes notes, and then sends you the link so you can watch the replay.
Watch the replay. I would want just give me the bullet points.
Give me the notes.
Give me the notes. Give me the notes. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. It's fascinating, right?
And it's really cool that, stuff that we're able to do.
It is. Well, cool, brother. Well, I appreciate you really jumping in, for kind of you looking into the future as it relates to, real estate. Kind of what are you excited about this year? I mean, I know it's been an interesting, 6-12 months, looking back, but kind of looking forward, what are you most excited about?
I'm excited about really diving into, well, a few things. One is community. As you know, my big thing is community. I have a community of agents that I've begun to build through this EXP opportunity, who've partnered with me at EXP, and it's just been phenomenal. We just met again this morning, and we go through, we start with prayer in the morning, and then we go through the blessings that they've had, whether they've closed a deal or just celebrated their daughter's 8th birthday or something, right? Personal and professional blessings. And then we go into more of a training. So we were talking about, the 2-1 buy down on interest rates and how you can utilize that. We're talking about being solution-oriented advisors in this real estate business. And then we do role playing, right? And so we play role play and help each other and build, and we go off of a script so everybody knows. And then we close out, and then in another couple of days, we do it all over again, right? And so building that community, I'm seeing some really cool traction. I'm mentoring some agents through that program, and they're appreciating that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. A couple of years ago, I said that I was going to speak on more stages. And as you know, last year, I spoke on more stages. Even got on the EXP Con stage last year, which was pretty cool. This year, I've also begun doing that, and I just got word that I was selected as one of the shareholder summit speakers.
Love it! Congrats!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you'll see me in a few months on that stage, so that's pretty exciting. And so I'm excited about doing more. Just truly, my thing is I aspire to inspire, right? And so I'm just reaching for greater heights, trying to do better, not just for myself professionally and personally, but also to inspire others to see that, dude, I remember when that guy was like, in 2020, he was like facing bankruptcy, right? Like now, like, look now, and so I've just started my YouTube channel that just launched this week, Living in Orlando, Florida with Mike Collier. And so go check that out. If you're listening to this, go like and subscribe, watch my videos. Like and subscribe, hit the bell or something. I'm still trying to figure out all the lingo, but there's a lot of cool things that are happening. And then it's just as far as the industry as a whole is concerned, I think that, now that the Fed is talking about raising interest rates again, by quite a bit, possibly this year to slow some things down. I think that community, the right community and having the right squad is going to be more important going forward than it has been in more recent years. Right. I think next year we'll probably start to see some things start to loosen up again. Hopefully, interest rates settle in and agents will start selling a lot more, and everything will be good. But I think right now things are still kind of rocky. Some months are good, some weeks are like kind of crazy. It just goes quiet, and there's a lot of agents who are still coming into the business. According to NAR, National Association of Realtors, there will be more homes sold in the next 5 years by agents who do not even have their license yet. Right. So there's a lot of agents who are still going to be coming into this business, but they're going to be looking for that community. They're going to be looking for training and support and mentorship. And I think as long as, we continue to do what we're doing and fighting the good fight, I think we'll be able to help a lot of people along the way. And I truly believe the more people you help, the more money you make. And the more money you make, the more people you can help.
It's how the cycle works.
It works.
Man, you definitely are an inspiration. Always love catching up. I know we'll have to do it again for sure, but really appreciate you jumping in. You guys listening to this, man, make sure you guys connect with Mike. He's doing some amazing things, and definitely head over to YouTube and like, subscribe, hit the bell, all the good stuff with YouTube. And
follow me on Instagram, the Mike Collier. Very
Looks at a ton of great stuff. So make sure you guys connect, give Mike lots of love, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. See you later. Bye. See ya.